What is up and what's going on, ladies and gentlemen? This is your boy OZ70NYC, and I'm bringing to you an original CAW creator commentary slash insight video for your viewing pleasure. Now, over on the cause.ws message board, I was asked a question by one of the new members. What exactly does a black face look like? That got me to thinking, and that's the reason why I'm making this video. Basically, as an original CAW maker, one of the toughest obstacles we will ever face is making a unique and realistic ethnic CAW face. Very difficult to do if you don't know what you're doing. However, part of it is knowing, the general rules of the anatomic facial feature of what it is that you're trying to create, and that's what this video is going to talk about. I'm going to go over my thought process, basically tricks of the trade that I've developed over my many years of original CAW making to try and help you out as far as creating a unique, dynamic, and above all else realistic African American or African or black or whatever the hell you want to call it facial structure on a man. Females, you can apply the same premise to females. You just have to take into account that with females, generally the facial features are not as pronounced, but you get the idea. So what we're going to do now is we are going to fire up the create mode, go into create a superstar, and start anew. And from here, I'm gonna give you the rundown of how it is that I do. We're gonna start with a superstar, obviously. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create this face using the default face template. Now generally speaking, a much easier way of going about this is to use one of the African American templates, which is template number 5 here, or template number 6, or template number 7. Those are your basic African American male default faces. Now take into consideration the facial structure of these faces, and that pretty much should give you a general idea of what it is that you should be trying to pull off when you're creating African American males. Basically, the facial structure of the African American male generally has much wider and pronounced features. We have wider eyes, not necessarily bigger eyes, but wider eyes, wider noses, wider lips, fuller lips. The cheekbones, our cheekbones are usually a lot more pronounced, but it's that fact that I tend to see a lot of CAW creators who make African American characters completely miss. A lot of characters that I see that are African American realistically look like white folks with brown skin. There's like no detail to the character to show that they are African American aside from the fact that they have brown skin. But that's what I'm here for. That's what I'm doing this video to help you folks out with. So I'm going to create this face using default face number 1, which is the same default face that's been on the game for years and years and years and years. So I'm gonna go ahead and change the skin tone to give him brown skin, because I like authenticity. And I'm going to change up the basic facial features, make his eyes brown, his eyebrows black, and so on and so forth like that, basically to give a better sense of realism as to what it is that the end result of this little experiment is going to be. So we're going to raise that to 20. That's generally the shade of black it is that I use across the board. A lot of people just go for that full on zero shade black, and nothing in the world is that black. That's another mistake that a lot of people make when creating attires and so on and so forth like that. They'll go for straight 100%, zero color black. There are tones to the color black that you see in everything that is black. Your keyboard, your computers. I'm not even going to get into that. That's probably going to be an entirely different video. But anyways, yeah. So we changed up his eyebrows. Now we're going to give him brown eyes, because any black person that that's 100% black that does not have brown eyes or some shade of brown eyes is wearing contacts. We don't have green eyes. We don't have gray eyes. Not those of us that are 100% black. Now, the mixed people, the people that are half black, half Hispanic, or half black, half white, half black, half whatever, they might have different color eyes. But if your mother was cinnamon brown and your father was dark chocolate brown, guess what? You got brown eyes. That's just the rule of it. That's just the way it is. It's genetics. But anyways, alright, we got the face out of the way. The eyes anyways. So now we are going to go to face and shape. Now here's where we get down to the meat of the video. General rule of thumb. Number 1. Us black folk have wider head proportions as far as height, depth, and scale. We have bigger heads. A lot of people don't take that into consideration when it is that they're making their African American characters. So they'll pretty much leave the heads at default, which is what you see right here, 0, 0, 0. That's not accurate. That's not going to be a means of creating a dynamic and realistic African American face. You have to take into account the fact that we got bigger heads. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to increase the proportion of this gentleman's head just a slight bit. 16, 10, 16. Keep it simple. Cranium. Now, generally speaking, a lot of original CAW makers in general, no matter what it is that they're trying to create, never touch the cranium, which I don't understand for the life of me. It's a means of being able to add uniqueness and dynamics to your creation. So why the hell not play around with the cranium morphing? What I'm going to do is I'm going to make his cranium tall and narrow, because that's generally the way it works as far as us black folk. Try and create an authentic, natural looking African black head shape. Now notice the depth. What the depth basically controls actually is the slope of the head. The more you increase it, the more the slope points out. The more you decrease it, the slope points in. Generally speaking, for us African Americans, for us black folk, it can go either way as far as the depth goes. You have some African Americans who have that increased depth in the skull. Those are generally black people who are of more Southern African descent. Whereas us black folk who have more slanted, more sloped foreheads and craniums are of North African descent. This gentleman who I'm going to be making here, we're going to make him of North African descent, so we're going to go with the sloped head, 42. Yeah, that works. Excuse me. So now we move on to the forehead. Again, this is another area that a lot of people don't touch, but as far as creating unique and dynamic facial structures and facial features, especially on African Americans, on black folk, it's a necessary sacrifice. So we're going to increase the size of his forehead, 46. That seems good. The height, you can barely even see what it's doing. Yeah, I can't see it either. I can see it a little bit. Slight movement on the forehead. We're going to make that an even 50, just for the sake of continuity. Width, we're going to give him a wider forehead, and we're going to decrease the depth. So already you see the top of his head looks nothing like the default, which is a good thing. We've already given him some uniqueness. So now we go to the eyebrows. General rule of thumb number 2 as far as creating a black male face. We have thick eyebrows. I am so sick and tired of seeing black characters who have eyebrows that look like this. He looks like freaking Bert from Ernie and Bert. Look at that. That's not cool, and that damn sure ain't black. We have thick eyebrows, so you want to go anywhere between 0 to as high as you possibly want it. If you want to go full 100, go full 100. It works. That's just the way that our faces are structured. He just so happens to he gonna have some big ass bushy eyebrows, but that's just the way it is. So I'm gonna drop his to 54. The y-axis you can pretty much play around with. You can go lower to make him look more menacing, or higher to make him look more jovial, whatever the case. But I'm gonna go lower, drop him down a little bit. Depth. This ties directly into the thickness. We got thicker eyebrows, so our thicker eyebrows obviously have a little bit more depth to them, so you're going to increase this. So I'm going to raise that to an even 60. And the angle, you do whatever you want with the angle. You can lower it, you can raise it. I'm going to raise it because I want him to look like a pissed off Negro. He's an angry black man. Yeah. So next up we come to the eyes, and here is another cardinal sin that a lot of people do as far as their black characters. They'll leave the eyes as close to default as possible, or in some cases they'll even make the eyes look like another ethnicity, which is what I don't get. How you gonna have a black person? I mean, yeah, you have some black people out there that kind of do have, Asian type facial features as far as the eyes goes and everything like that. But excuse me. General rule of thumb number 3, as far as the black facial features, black facial structure, wider eyes. Not necessarily bigger eyes, wider. It is possible, as you see, as I'm doing right now, to decrease the size of the character's eyes, of which you see here, and decrease the height of the eyes, but increase the width to get realism. See, raise that up to about 40 and it looks believable. You know, he's got wider eyes, but not necessarily big, huge, cartoony looking eyes. Next thing to take into account is the Y and X axis. Another big mistake people make, they either go too far down or too far up as far as the X and Y. As far as we black folk go, our eyes tend to sit a little lower on the skull than most other ethnicities. So you're going to want to be within the range of, I'll say, about 20 and below. But you don't want to go too far below. You don't want to go below 80. Because if you go below 80, not that there's much difference, but, well, I won't even say 80. You know, you don't want to go below, I'll say, 50. You can in certain aspects, but that depends on the basic structure of the rest of the face that you're creating. As far as this guy goes, I'm going to go 60. Yes. So see, his eyes sit lower on his head, but combined with the morphs that I did to his head, is in the cranium, the forehead, and the top of the skull, you can already notice some substantial uniqueness to the character. Next up, we're going to touch the x-axis. General rule of thumb number 4. Black folks' eyes tend to sit closer in proximity to the nose cilium, not further. You've got some exceptions to the rule, but as a whole, if you're going to create a nuclear black face, our eyes sit closer to the nose as opposed to further from the nose. So you're going to want to increase the x-axis. As you see me doing here, I'm going to bring that to an even 60 as well. Actually, I'm going to decrease it a little bit. I'm going to go drop it down to 40. Depth, you can pretty much, go whatever direction it is that you want to go with depth. I'm going to lower the depth to, sink the eyes into the skull more, which gives the eyebrows and the nose an even more pronounced look, as you see there. And then the angle. Here's where it gets tricky as far as the eyes of the black male. We got some screwed up looking eyes as far as angles goes. You got some black guys that have eyes angled downwards like this, and you got some guys that got eyes that are angled upwards like that. Those guys with the slanted eyes upwards like Asians, few and far between. Usually they have some form of Asian in their genealogy. Generally speaking, you're not going to be doing that, not going to be coming up with characters like that very often. You do not want to go too far as slanting the eyes upward. You can, but you're not going to slant their eyes more than you would an Asian character. That's ridiculous. That's another misconception and mistake that a lot of original CAW makers make as far as creating Asian characters. They'll make characters with super slanted eyes like that, and that's completely unrealistic. Not all Asians have slanted eyes. So that's another factor to take into consideration, but that's another discussion entirely. I'm going to actually lower the angle of this gentleman's eyes. I'm going to make it an even 30. And as you can see, like I said before, his facial structure is coming along quite nicely. He looks unique, dynamic, and not default. That's what we're going for. Next up, the nose. I can't not begin to tell you folks how many times people screw up. How many times I see, people screw up on making black characters' noses. If you've ever seen a black person in real life, no matter what walk of life it is that you are, no matter where it is that you live in this country or on this planet, for all of my international viewers or what have you like that, you've seen us. You know what us black folk look like. You know that we got big noses. Why the hell are you going to create an original character that does not have a uniform nose? Even us black folk that don't necessarily have large noses, our noses are still larger in comparison to other ethnicities, with exception, once again, of Asians. So, with that said, any African American face that you create, any black face that you create, you're going to increase the size of the nose. This first slider right here, it's going to go up no matter what. No matter what it is that you do to the rest of the nose, to the height, the width, the length, nostril width, nostril height, depth, angle, no matter what, size always goes up. You have to increase the size of the nose of the character. Otherwise, it completely throws the face off. Completely makes him not look black. So, with that said, I'm going to keep his nose at 50. The height, I'm going to increase that even more. I'm going to bring that up to an even 70. So that's going to make his nose sit lower on the face. Gives it a much larger vertical spread. The width of the nose. You can go many different ways with the width. You can either go extreme, big, or you can shrink it down, but notice it still doesn't take away from the fact that his nose is a prominent part of the face. No matter if you completely expand the nose size to 100, the nose width, or drop the nose width down to negative 100, the nose still has a pronounced look to it. So in the case of this particular character, I'm going to raise it to an even 70. So we got 50, 50, 70. Length you can pretty much go any direction with as far as an African American male. By general consensus, we don't necessarily have very long noses. Our noses are large as far as size, width, and depth, not necessarily length. So, you can leave this default if you want. You can increase it if you want. You can decrease it. You can pretty much do whatever it is that you want with the length. It really doesn't make much of a difference, because that's not really where the black nose is pronounced at. So I'm just going to leave it at negative 20 right here. Nostril width and nostril height. Now this is where we give some general shape to the nose. Again, some of us black people have large nostrils. Some of us have small nostrils. Some of us have wide nostrils. And some of us have thin nostrils. Well, not that thin. So you see that right there, -100? That ain't black. That ain't black at all. I don't know what the hell that is, but that ain't black. So you want to avoid going that small by any and every stretch of the imagination. Lowest you want to go as far as width is -30. But the highest you can go is as high as you want. You can go full 100, and it still looks realistic, because there are black people, black men out there who have noses that wide. I know quite a couple of them, actually. One of my best friends actually has a nose that's wide. But the difference is the rest of his face fits the obvious size of his nose because he has a pronounced large head. Now mind you, he also just so happens to be a very pronounced large dude, 6'5", 6'6", and just a shade over 300 pounds, so he's a big dude. But his head is proportionate to his frame. So take that into consideration. But I ain't gonna go that wide with this dude. I'm just gonna raise it to 36. The nostril height. Again, this, like I said before, this is where you give the nose its shape. This is where you make it unique. So you can go low with the nostril height, or you can go high. Either or. I want to go high with this one. Leave it 66. Depth. Here is another key point. If you're making an African American male's face, you are not dropping the depth. Ever. This will never happen. What you see right there. It is never going below 0. Moment you go below 0, it ain't an African American male face. It ain't a black face. We have depth in our nose salience. So it's going to increase. No matter how high it is that you make it, it's never going to go below 0. Remember that. I'm going to leave it at 64. And angle. Pretty much the same thing as length. You can go whatever direction it is that you want with the angle. We have many different angle styles to our noses. Majority of us have down angled noses, angular noses. Yeah, I think that's the technical term for it. But there's quite a few of us that have vertically angular noses, like that. Either way, depends on the gentleman, depends on the character you're trying to make. It's up to your interpretation, whichever direction it is that you want to go with this. Me personally, I'm going to angle his nose down. Bam. Cheeks. Here's another one that's a key ingredient to creating the nuclear black male face. Size, once again, it's going to increase no matter what. You're not going to go too far down. Yes, you do have some of us that have faces like that. Decreased cheek sizes. You can't get away with that. Generally speaking, though, it's pretty much all dependent on the proportion of the rest of the head. If you're going for a larger face, someone with more weight on them, then obviously you're going to want to increase the cheek size. If you're going with someone with a little less weight on them, then you're going to lower the cheek size. This gentleman that I'm making right here, he's, going to be athletic type, an athletic built guy, so I can get away with lowering the size. The X and Y axis is pretty much the positioning, of the cheeks. Again, it's pretty much up to interpretation. The basic size and scale of the head, and generally the character that you're trying to create. If it's a character that has more weight on them, you're going to increase it a little bit. If it's a character that has less weight on them, you're going to decrease it a little bit. As far as the X-axis, the Y-axis, it's up to interpretation. Do what you want with it. But do something with it. Don't just leave it blank. Don't just leave the cheeks zero. That's a big mistake that a lot of people make. They don't touch the cheeks at all. Even I was guilty of this for a long time. The characters that I made, black characters, white characters, Asian characters, didn't make a difference. I never touched the cheeks. But within the last couple years, I found that as I decided I wanted to start making more dynamic facial structures, messing around with the cheek morphing is a key and integral part of doing so. And of course, last but not least in the cheek section, the depth, which pretty much increases the protrusion of the cheekbones. You want to go high or you want to go low. Either or. I'd say, for example, myself, my own facial features, my own facial structure, I got kind of semi-high cheekbones. They're not pronounced, but they're there. They're noticeable. So they're pretty much like that. Like that 60 that you see right there. That's pretty much my cheekbones. So I'm going to leave it like that. Keep it at that 60. Last but not least, well, not last but not least, because we still ain't done yet. But anyways, the mouth. And yes, I do realize that this video has just ran over the 30-minute mark. I don't give a damn, because if you're still here watching this 30 minutes later after I started it, then kudos to you, because you're actually looking to improve your call making technique. So we move on. The mouth. Pretty much the same rule of thumb that went into the nose goes into the mouth. Black people have big mouths in more ways than one. But yeah, we have large mouths. Our mouth structures are wider, they're more pronounced, they have more depth, they have more width, we got big mouths. There's just no going around it. So why, for the life of me, do I see so many black characters out there with the mouths of white folk? What the hell, people? What's going on here? The mouth is supposed to be, like the nose on a black person, the mouth is the most defining feature of the black face. The mouth, the nose, the eyes. That's what catches people. That's what grabs people. It's that combination that defines the African American, the black, the African facial structure. So, with that being said, the height, pretty much, you can do whatever it is that you want with the height. That's pretty much going to raise or lower the lips on the face. Again, that's up to your own personal preference. Obviously, you don't want to go too extreme, because then they just look like a freak, like that. his lips are damn near into his nose. You don't want to do that for anyone. Black, white, Hispanic, Asian, doesn't make a difference. Yeah, that ain't a good look. But yeah, I'm going to actually do something a little different. I'm going to lower his lips. I'm going to drop it down so that it's closer to the chin rather than closer to the nose. But you see what that does though? That creates a dynamic face. That's a face that you will not see someone else make, because most people generally tend to stick towards uniform facial structures. That's the reason why you have so many CAWs out there that facially kind of resemble each other, because not a lot of people, not enough people, go the route of creating dynamic faces. They don't combine structure with extreme. They just go with uniform structure, and that's the reason why a lot of CAWs, no matter how good the attires might look, no matter how it is that no matter what work a person puts into the paint tool designs or tattoo layouts or anything like that, that's why a lot of characters don't really get much recognition. Because for me specifically, I'm going a little off topic here, but for me specifically, when I'm looking at someone else's original CAW, first thing I obviously look for is the attire. Does the attire fit the overall character? Can I guess the gimmick of the character from the type of attire it is that they're wearing? Second thing I'm looking at, is their face structure. Does the face look dynamic? Does this look like a real person? Could this be a real person, or is this just a arbitrary generalization of what a person is trying to convey in that character? If I don't see that uniqueness in a person's character facially, I really don't care what the rest of the character looks like. I don't care if it can have the greatest looking attire ever. It could be awesome looking from the neck down, but from the neck up, if it looks plain, generic, and default, I don't give a damn. I'm not downloading it. I'm not even going to give that CAW the recognition of me leaving it a rating on Community Creations. I'm just going to pass it over because it has no appeal to me. But anyways, getting back on the subject. Next, we have the thickness. This is where we start to get more dynamic on the African American black face. We got thick lips. Very seldom will you ever see a black person, be it male or female, with thin lips. See that? That doesn't happen often. As a matter of fact, you're more prone to see that on a mixed blood person. A person who is of African American and another ethnicity. But as far as the nuclear black face, you're going to be going above 0 in the thickness department. Pretty much up to your own interpretation. You can go full 100 if you want. You can go anywhere in between, but you're not going to go below, I would say, -20. That is the lowest you're going to go if you're going to be trying to create an authentic, dynamic, and realistic African American male face. So we're going to raise this up to 50 and keep it there. With, once again, you're not going to see this. That doesn't even look right on anyone. Black, white, Hispanic, Asian, doesn't make a difference. You're not going that low at all. You're going to want to stay, again, same thing with the thickness, anywhere within the range of -20 and up. You can actually go full 100. That actually still looks like a black person. Just looks like, really, really big mouth black person. But there are some of us out there that have mouths that big. But I ain't gonna go that way. This guy ain't gonna have that kind of face. So I'm gonna even it out with the thickness and make it 20. Depth. Once again, it's not going to go low. As a matter of fact, ideally, as far as the nuclear black face, the depth actually doesn't go as deep as some people, some black folks, mouth depth goes. See, as far out as that is, even though he looks like he's a character from The Simpsons looking like that, that's not as far as it goes. There's actually black folk out there that got lips even deeper than that. General rule of thumb, again, that's pretty much up to your own interpretation. What kind of character it is that you're trying to build. You can go full 100 if you want and still have him looking realistic, looking like a black dude. But for this particular character, again, I'm not going to go that deep. I'm just going to even it out with the rest of the face. 50, 50, 50. And see, it looks unique, dynamic, and realistic. It creates that look of him having an overbite, which is I won't say a prominent feature in the black facial structure, but it's a regular feature. You're more often to see black people, male or female, that have overbites rather than underbites. This particular morphing style demonstrates how it is that you can create that on a created character here. The lips, pretty much, once again, you're not going to go below 0. You're not going to go below -20. It just doesn't look right. That ain't black. That ain't black. You're going to be going below, -20 and above. Pretty much same thing like the rest. Like the rest of the lips, the rest of the mouth morphing. I'm just going to even it out. Same thing. Just have it uniform. But even in all of this morphing being uniform, it still creates a unique face. Yeah. And the angle, go whatever direction it is that you want with the angle. You can make him smile, you can make him scowl, make him frown, whatever. He's gonna frown because he's an angry black man. So that's the way to go. Next up, we got the jaw. Again, the jaw is a very, very important part of creating a black face because we have pronounced jaw structures. It goes hand in hand with the rest of the facial features. Even if you're thin and you're black, you got a pronounced jaw structure. So we're going to increase the height to the safe number is 50. You can go higher. Actually, you can even go, no, you can't go lower. That doesn't even look right. Anything below -30 isn't going to look realistic. He actually looks like a caveman. That ain't good. That ain't good. But yeah, I'm going to go 50 on this. I said 50, not 70. Pressed it too much. And the width. You're going to generally want to increase the width of the chin and the jaw. No matter what. Even if you're creating a smaller character. The jaw, the chin width needs to be increased because that's just the facial structure of the black man. Depth, You can pretty much go any direction with depth. You can go below or you can go above. It's up to your own interpretation. Me, I'm gonna go above. Uniform 50. Outline. Again, here's where it can get a little tricky, because you have some thin African American males who have thick outlined jaws, and you have some heavyset guys that have thin jaws like that. Pretty much it all depends on the overall facial structure that you're building. You want it to look streamlined. You want it to look uniform. You don't want it to look unnatural. So, in the case of this particular face that I'm building, to make it look uniform, I have to increase the outline. However, the upper line, if I wanted to, I could decrease it, and it still looks uniform. It still looks realistic. But instead, I'm going to increase the upper line and decrease the outline. And see, that gives him a squared off looking jaw. And the thickness, you can pretty much do whatever the hell it is that you want with the thickness. Last but not least, the ears. Another untouched part of many, many original CAWs. Pretty much you can go whatever direction it is that you want with the ears. For myself, me personally, I've got very, very small ears. But then you got some black people that got huge ears. Again, this area is pretty much up to your own interpretation. This gentleman, I'm gonna give him big ears. What the hell? Make him look different. So there. And that's it. We're done. It's over with. Check out the end result. Now, mind you, ladies and gentlemen, this started out as default 1. The default male white facial structure. And you can see what it is that I did to it. And it looks like a black man. An authentic, dynamic, realistic black male face. Now, of course, this black male face is going to be shortly becoming an original character that I'm going to further work on, but I just wanted to create this video, give you all a little insight on as to how and what it is that you should be doing as far as creating your authentic, dynamic, realistic black male faces. This is the end result. Play around, experiment, but take into account a lot of the points that I mentioned in this video, and get out there and start creating. This has been your boy OZ70NYC, and I'm out. Peace in the Middle East with some hair grease. Simp! 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 Simp!